Hello, guys and gals, animal friends, spirit pals. Welcome or welcome back to the Spirit Whisperer channel. Yes, I'm here with my magnifying glass because I'm going to be looking into a mystery tonight. Yes, it's mystery night. Ooh, you can just call me Sherlock Homo. So we're going to go tickling around with their tarot in Hollywood land, Hollywood town tonight, as I look into the mysterious death of Natalie Wood. I know we're going back some in history. She passed away in 1981. But recently she came back to my mind, and I thought I was just going to, her passing was very mysterious. I'm not sure all the truth came out about that. So I wanted to look at that tonight, and I thought you guys might have fun and come along with me. I know it's not political or current, but it is an event. Now, before I get right down to the tarot and the tickling, I wanted to tell you a story about my sickening cat. I was out in the yard, and I was, doing yard stuff. And I have an electric lawnmower that I have out in the yard that I have somebody mow my yard, but still I have an electric lawnmower. And I was going to cover it in a tarp, to try to I keep putting it on there, but it keeps falling off. So I thought I was going to tie the tarp on there to keep it covered. And as I was doing, I said, well, this would also make a very nice little cubby hole for my two cats that like to sit outside. And they get really mad when it rains and stuff. So I tied it over the, the handle you push. And so it made like this little, tarp tent that you could look out if you were inside it, and I put the tarp tent part on the part of the sidewalk in my yard. There's this concrete sidewalk. And I thought, well, that might keep that dry, I just thought, I had a pipe dream that, oh, they might use this. And so tonight it's raining, and I went out and looked out the back door, turned on the porch light, and there sat Meriwether in her little cute tarp tent, like peeking out at me, going, "Hi, Dad, thanks for the tarp tent. It's raining." And I opened up the door and I said, "Yes, it's raining. Did you want to come in?" So she ran down the sidewalk and hopped on the stepping stones. She always avoids all the grass. And came in, and then went a couple little snacks. And then, of course, she went right back out the cat door and down the sidewalk and went right back in her little tarp tent and went, "Okay, I'm back. Thanks a lot." So a sickening story, because of course she would immediately use the fine thing I made, and she would assume it's for her. And she was extremely cute in it, and she's still sitting in it now, even though it's raining. But she says, "I'm dry in here in my nice little kitty cat tarp tent." Okay, enough of that. Sickening pets. Speaking of sickening pets, look at that one back there. I can't ever point. What the Look, I still can't. It's impossible. There's my little Alaskiana, snoozing, giving you her cute little chin and belly bow. Okay, enough of all the sickness. Well, there's a little Buttercup too. She's behind me, but she's hiding. You can't see her. Mark, could we get on with the show? So Natalie Wood was a famous Hollywood actress. She started as a child actress. She started acting at age 4, very young, and she did quite a few things. Then, at age 8, she starred in one of my favorite movies, Miracle on 34th Street, the original one. It was in the 40s. It's in black and white. She's the little girl in it. She's cute as a bug. Also has Maureen O'Hara, Edwin Gwynn, John Payne. It's a great Christmas movie, and I usually always watch it every year. Love it. There's been remakes, but I really love that original, and Natalie Wood's particularly precious. And then she did movies as a teenager. She got an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actress in a little film called Rebel Without a Cause with James Dean. She did West Side Story. She was Maria in that movie. You might have seen that. She was in another fun movie I liked with Rosalind Russell called Gypsy, where she played Gypsy Rose Lee, the stripper. That was a great movie. Splendor in the Grass, which was a big hit for her. Bob and Ted and Carol and Alice. Is that Bob and Carol and Ted and Alice? There you go. And that she did a lot of films. Then in 1980, she was making a comeback in a film called Brainstorm with Christopher Walken, another Hollywood actor. And during the filming of that movie, she died tragically off of Catalina Island in the ocean, drowned. She was married to another actor, Robert Wagner. He's kind of more known for television. So she married him when they were real young. They divorced. She was married to somebody else. She had a child with another person. Divorced him. And then she got remarried to Robert Wagner. And they had kind of a, interesting relationship. Natalie's sister said everybody really liked him. He was very lovable. They all liked him and all that kind of thing. Now, the night of her death, they had a boat, a yacht. It was called the Splendor, named after Splendor in the Grass. And it had a little dinghy tied up to it where you could go into shore. And that little dinghy was named the Valiant because Robert Wagner played Prince Valiant in a movie way ages ago. It was like a Alibaba kind of a movie, but he's Prince Valiant. And they had Christopher Walken on the boat with them. They went to dinner on the island. They came back to the boat. They'd been drinking a whole lot, both places. Just one more little thing about that. The night before that, so they'd been having like a rough and tumble few days. So the night before that, they were out to dinner on the island. Came and go. She and Robert had been fighting and arguing, and she decided she wasn't going to stay on the boat with him, so she went back to shore and spent the night in a hotel, supposedly with the guy who was the captain of the boat, because she just didn't want to be around him. Then the next night, when they had them on the boat, had Christopher on the boat, there was also a boat captain who was there too, so there's 4 people. And they were all drinking and everything, and Robert Wagner had sort of a anger meltdown. Supposedly he had a screaming fit. He said something like to Christopher Walken, "What are you trying to do? F my wife," and grabbed a bottle of wine and smashed it with all of his might into the floor. And there was like an argument fight, and Christopher Walken went to bed. Natalie left because she's like not putting up with it. And then a little bit later, Natalie's missing. Like the ship captain comes down, and Robert Wagner's just standing there alone going, "Oh, Natalie's missing. I can't find her." Okay, well, it's a yacht, but it's not that big. You know what I mean? So, and then she was nowhere on the boat, and then hours later, basically the next morning, they found her body floating in Catalina. And they found the Valiant also floating in the ocean, but they weren't near each other. So it was mysterious. The story was she got up from bed because the dinghy was banging against the boat and it annoyed her. And so she went out to tie it tighter to the boat, and she must have fallen in, and then somehow the boat came completely untied too and floated out, and she just fell in the water and drowned. One other thing you might want to know about Natalie is when she was a little girl, she had a psychic reading. Hello! And she was told to not go near the water. Basically, that she would die in the water. This was when she was really little. And so her whole life she was afraid of the water. She never learned to swim. She didn't like to get in the water. She was scared of it. She didn't really like night, dark water, you know. But they had that boat and they went on it, but she would never get in the water. I think she was actually had like a phobia. So that's also interesting that she ended up dead in the water when she's so afraid of it. She also had on a nightgown, like no underwear or bra or anything, so like, you know, looked like what she was going to bed with the jacket on over it. She also had some bruises, like on her wrist, an arm, scratch on her neck, like kind of an abrasion on her head. Then there's a lot of bruises on her legs and ankles. So they all kind of stuck to that story. Christopher Walken supposedly slept through the whole thing and didn't know anything. Robert and the ship captain told that story that she must have fallen over, taking the thing off the back. Now, according to the ship captain, who had worked for them for something like 8 years, he's their good friend. He said he wasn't really in charge of the boat, but he drove it. Really, Robert was in charge and told him what to do. But he worked for them for a long time. You know, they were friends. They went out, like she stayed in that hotel room with them to not be with Robert. You know, they were close, and he had worked with them a lot. So he wasn't just, you know, he did know them, and you know, they treated him like a friend and stuff. But so after the thing happened and they sort of settled it all, the ship captain says Robert Wagner never spoke to him again, never ever said another word to him again ever. And then years later, the captain came out. I think he wrote a book too, but where he said the lawyer and Robert told him the story to tell, and that they had to stick to it, and that he told that story because that's what they told him. So then he told a new story that after the big wine smashing, and Robert Wagner also says he got mad and broke wine and everything, but he also says that they were all drunk, and after Christopher Walken went to bed at his stateroom, and Natalie had already left and gone to her bedroom, he heard them continuing to argue and fight, Natalie Wood and Robert Wagner, and in the bedroom with the door closed. And he said not only that, but they were throwing things, and it was like a violent fight. He went down to make sure Natalie was okay, and Robert Wagner said, he just cracked the door and he said, "Get out of here, it's none of your business, go mind your own business." And he went back upstairs, you know, because that was his boss, but it still worried him. So he went upstairs for a while. He still heard them fighting, and then it got quiet, and then he went back because he was still worried. Remember, they'd also had that big fight the night before, and that's when Robert was just standing in the galley, and you know, where they'd been drinking and stuff, and he was just standing there, and he said, "Oh, Natalie's missing," you know, and it was very weird. The guy also said that dinghy was super tied because he tied it himself on the boat, and he just could not imagine that Natalie Wood could get it untied. because she was like 120 pounds. And plus, she was horrified of the water. And the fact that she'd be down in there in the night in her nightgown, piddly paddling, is a little weird. So he then thinks that Robert Wagner killed her and threw her in the ocean. Okay, so that's the basic story. That was a lot of facts, huh? Facts and factoids. They had children together too. You know, they have a daughter, at least. They might have two. I can't remember. So now the other night when I was doing some readings and I was playing around with these before and after tarot cards, and I liked them, and then I'd done the show and I was, you know, uploading it, and I was just sitting here and I thought, and I was thinking about Natalie Wood. And I thought, oh, let me just pull these cards and just see if they want to say anything about that. And I want to show you what I pulled because it was so interesting. So I kept them to show you guys because I did it after I turned the camera off. But I still wanted to show you this, and then I'm going to pull new cards too. But when I looked at this, here's the first card I got. The Seven of Swords. So, you know, that's lies, sneaky Pete, things not above board, sneaking and lying. Swords are, you know, mental, so it's like voice too. But in this picture, look at him preparing his swords. So it kind of gives me that feeling of getting your story straight. You know, getting your swords in a row. Which goes along with that ship captain saying, he was set down with Robert and his lawyer saying, this is the story and that you stick to it. It goes like this. Don't. This is the story, period. So that's interesting. The next card, now that was the Seven of Swords. Then I also get the Seven of Cups. Typically this card is like illusion and delusion, right? So, smoke screens, things aren't like what they seem. Even this guy in the front, I didn't see a thing. You know, I was too drunk. I didn't hear her if she was yelling for help or, you know, just all of a sudden, I didn't see her. I had been drinking and I woke up and she was missing, kind of. Look, my eyes are closed. I don't know a thing. That's mysterious. And 2 sevens in a row. These cards are interesting because they tell like a different story sometimes. Then we get the Lovers. But look at this Lovers card, guys and gals, animal friends and spirit pals. Look at this Lovers card. The woman's knocked down on the ground. Sounds a little like a physical fight might have been going on between the lovers. And there's this energy overlooking it, which also, you know me, my brain goes right to picture telling and storytelling. It kind of goes along again with that ship captain saying he was on the top deck. He turned on the radio to try to act like, you know, so he didn't want them to think he was listening after Robert Wagner told him to mind his own business, but he could still hear them fighting from above. Look at this. It almost like just dramatizes that right there in the fricky fracky picture. Then I get the Page of Wands. Being like spurred into action. You're taking action. And look at him. He looks upset. He's got his hand in a fist. He's ready to go. And, you know, it's a page too, so it makes me think that it wasn't like necessarily planned, but it was sort of in the moment, like in the passion of the moment, that this guy took an action. And the card after that is Death. fighting. Maybe I hit you. Next thing I know, somebody's dead, one of the lovers. And then just the final card that came out was the Knight of Wands. But again, I'm kind of getting that ship captain again in this card. Like, really, he wanted to try to set the story straight, it feels like. So I'm gonna read on that. Let's ask, is that ship... So wasn't that interesting, those cards? I don't know. For me, it was like, well, yeah, let's do a reading on that. So let's look at that ship captain a little bit here. Am I use these cards? Yeah. What? Was he telling the truth the second time? That's the question. I can't remember that guy's name for some reason. I can think of everything else but that. Was his story true? In the end, Natalie's sister believes that Robert had something to do with it too. Finally, at first she didn't, but changed her mind. Okay, the ship captain's what we're looking at. All these sevens. So, let's do one more card. But from those, right there, I'm getting a definite yeah, he's trying to set the record straight. Let me pull a couple of these cards on here too for this to top it off a little bit. Now there are also like here's a couple other little odd facts, me being Sherlock Homo and all. Reportedly, and this Natalie's sister also confirms this, that Natalie had caught Robert Wagner before having sexual relations with a man. And it was quite a big thing and all that. And now also, weirdly, there's a report at this time when they were on Catalina Island from a lifeguard who wrote a report that Robert Wagner and the other actor were having sex on the beach. Who knows? But that's a thing that's out there, like on a report. Robert Wagner and Christopher Walken. All of a sudden I forgot his name. Okay. So when he brought it up, when he wrote the book and brought it up, and it did cause the police to reopen the case after a long time. This was in 2011, and they changed the thing to from accidental drowning to cause unknown. That they couldn't be sure because the bruising added some extra little oomph to it, like bruising up around her wrist where it looked like somebody was holding it, you know. And then she had a bunk on her head and scratch on her neck, and there was another bruise on her arm. So, you know, so it's like those bruises were most likely there before she drowned. because you don't have bruises after you drowned, because the blood has to be, after you're dead, you don't form bruises. They have to be before you die. So that was one mysterious thing. I don't think they found like water in her lungs either, which is a little bit weird, I feel like. So anyway, when I looked to him, is he telling the story? First thing I get is the 7 of coins. He was privy. He was on the inside here. And he worked for these rich people. There's coins all around. And he knew more than he said. That's what I feel like. He had all this. Some was up here, out what he was able to tell. But this down here he had to keep hidden. That's what I'm hearing. The Queen of Cups, this will be Natalie. There's a secret yet to be revealed. And of course there she sits like on Catalina in the water, with her foot in the water. So that makes me feel like the whole truth hasn't come out. There's still this secret cup that has got a veil over it. And then I get before I got that Knight of Wands, and then I get the Page of Wands, him trying to set the story straight. He brought forth new information that wasn't there before. The intention, I think, was to tell the truth. He felt, he's trying to expose the devil in this a little bit. And, even this card, it'd be like that addictive. They were all drinking. They were drunk, actually. They had a lot of alcohol. And, the fighting, the kind of about, there's even this sexual kind of thing. Was it true? Were they fighting about, was he jealous of him because of her? Or, what the heck? Something wacky. More than we know. Okay. Now, I just wanted to kind of get a feel of, did it seem like that guy was telling the truth? So I'm going to pull a couple of these after tarots just for that. Like after the fact, he wrote this book. I know, of course, when you write a book, you get money. But I don't think the guy had any money. But, who knows? I feel like, though, and those cards seem to say, he was hoping to set the record straight. Yeah, I still think that. So we get the 10 of Swords. It's all the sword energy. But, that usually they're all stabbed in the back. But in this picture, it almost looks like they're getting ready to toss him into the sea. Really? So like being helped into the water. And of course, this body's unconscious, looks like, or asleep. So if he did slug her or something and she's like, oh, plus she was also really heavily drinking, did he just push her in the water? And I get the 2 of Wands. I feel like he wants to set the story straight on her behalf. I feel like he feels some guilt about it. Another thing, like Robert wouldn't let him report it for a long time. They didn't tell the Coast Guard or anything, for quite a while after she'd been missing. It was also suspicious. And then this card makes me feel like it's kind of like Robert Wagner writing in victorious. But this woman, I don't know, there's this woman there stopping him. I'm tending to believe he may have had something to do with this. It's very mysterious. Buttercup, what you doing? Okay, well, that's interesting. Let's look at Robert Wagner's energy. He's in his 90s. When they reopened the second investigation, he refused to talk to the police or anybody. He said, I already told my story and that I'm sticking to it. So he still says she somehow fell overboard. He's changed his story a few times. He also said, well, she probably took the dinghy and went out to other boats and visited strangers. I'm going, okay, really? He said, yeah, she was known to do that, like in her nightgown. I don't know. He said that the dinghy was banging against the side of the boat, and that woke her. She didn't like it, but the dinghy wasn't. It was on the back of the boat, not on the side of the boat, banging against the door, banging against the window. So that was kind of a big story. So, Robert Wagner, what's happening? What about your story? Are you telling the truth? Well, he's going to stick to his story to the bitter end. He's not going to change it. He'll defend his story. Even if he doesn't come out and defend it, he's just going to say, my story sticks, that's it. I don't care who believes it, who doesn't, that's what happened. So he's sticking to his story, but he still has like a little bit of underwater secret. There's the Page of Cups. There's that he's carrying around with him. There's some hidden, surprising secret. I like that it's in the water. It feels like, he's old, and that he's going to stick to that story, and the fact that he's a star, because he was a TV star, and they were stars, big star couple, that will keep him safe. That's kind of how it got a little bit wonky in the beginning. They didn't do some things they should have, of course, as always, the police, because they're stars, and he thinks that star power, this is the Ace of Pentacles, will carry him through until he gets to the other side, so maybe he won't be discovered. But there's still a possibility of some more justice coming forward. So that could also mean we find out something else here. Let me ask, these other cards a little bit more about him, Robert Wagner. Of course, it's been a long, long time now since it's happened. I don't know, I feel like there might be a possibility that something comes out after he goes, after he passes, that there may be something, some other thing that comes to the surface. After he goes. Could that be a possibility here? Those cards seem to say yes. Let me just pull a couple more on here. Very interesting. Okay, so let's look at this. So I'm still looking at Robert Wagner's energy. The reason I was thinking that maybe it looks like there could be something that comes up after he passes is because I get this inheritance card, or a lot of times I call this the inheritance card. It's the 10 of coins, and it's like generations. There's usually an old guy sitting here in the front, like this kid inheriting some coins in an old chest, afterwards. So it looks like something could come out. Maybe even something that the child knows. This to me hints at something coming out after death. And this is kind of saying the exact same thing. There he goes. He's off to the other side. She's still standing here looking for evidence in these cups. Cups are water, guys, emotion. Looking what's left behind. As if there's something to find in this cup. That's the way I'm going to read that one. Which brings a little bit of clarity to the situation. The Queen of Swords and the celebration. So it feels like there may be some more truth revealed, which kind of sheds a little bit of a different light on Natalie Wood. Like, she would like the truth to come out, I believe. I pulled these cards, and they're very interesting. Wait, hold on a second. What's that say? Yeah. Okay, pink card. So, broken bed. Some trouble in the bedroom, the landlord, and the LARPer. Now the LARPer would be like an actor. The landlord would be kind of the owner of the boat or whatever. So this is kind of hinting at that thing about, was there some kind of weird messing around with the two guys, which didn't help the bedroom, broke the bed. That's very interesting. Those cards came out. So I'm not really getting anything like, no, he's just innocent and stop asking. Nothing like that. Everything's more mysterious and don't seem like somebody's as innocent as they like. I'm going to pull one more little group of cards before we end. It's going on pretty long. On behalf of Natalie herself. Natalie, you can guide the cards, please, if you would. Is there something you'd like us to know about your passing? Did you just accidentally fall in the water? Are you taking full responsibility? Yeah, I hear her saying partly, but not completely. It's kind of like I had too much to drink, but that was only part of the reason I ended up in the water. That's what I hear her saying. Would you like this information to be straightened out? Do you think it would be? How are you feeling about it? Is it just over and done with? Which it could be, but I don't know. It feels like there's still a lot of energy around it to me. All right. Those are pretty good, but let me pull a couple more here. Can you tell me some more about the night of your death? Like what happened? Who's responsible? You know, was it just an accident? Okay. And even though, you know, this was later in their careers, they were still like a power Hollywood couple, you know. Actually, I saw her final film, Brainstorm, because she died before it was finished, but they still put it out. They had enough footage to keep her in it and stuff. I remember going to see it at the movies. I liked it, actually, because it was science fiction. And it was great to see Natalie Wood again, because it really was like a comeback for her. She hadn't done anything in a long time. And she looked great, you know. She was like a, if you were gay, you sort of liked her, because she did, you know, fun, I don't know, movies that, you know, like Gypsy, West Side Story, Rebel God. There's a lot of gayness in those movies. Right. Well, everything I'm pulling, and I just keep trying, but I just keep getting shady shenanigans. So, the story ain't changing, no matter how many decks and all this stuff I do. So I was looking at Natalie's energy, and I feel like she's saying, yeah, we were all drinking and everything, but I'm not taking full responsibility. So the first card that comes up when I'm asking her about the situation, about the night she died, the devil was present. He was acting like the devil. He was angry, raging. I don't know if there was some jealousy involved. Who knows what it was about. Mixed with the alcohol, he was kind of, you know, acting out. Things were out of control, right? The devil was, you know, standing on his head, breaking bottles, acting crazy. She's saying. So, in another way, just say, because a lot of times, even besides what the devil, you know, because it's about addiction and different things like that, but a lot of times it's just like there's a devilish energy, or this guy was the devil. You know, there was a dark energy. There was something afoot. And it's been hidden. So you get the moon next. Is this the moon? Yeah. It's not all been brought to light. There's still hidden facts. And again, we get a nice water down there reflecting into the water. There's still something about the drowning or the death in the water that's not been brought to light. You know, I was asking her if she wanted it to come out, and it feels like she would like it to, and she thinks there's a possibility it could. So she gives me the Knight of Cups, like he's not actually moving, but he's about to. So this looks like there could be some energy in the background ready to come forward. Now she gives me the kids cards, the 6 chalices. Which talks about, you know, like what I said before, that the kids might have some information or something that they're waiting for the dad to go or something. Is that what you're talking about information coming out afterwards? Or do they find something he wrote or something like that? I don't know. It feels like we're not quite done. You get the Hierophant. That could be like a judge, a higher power. You know, there's still, we haven't really got to the, you know, like, we haven't got the keys. We don't know exactly what happened. There's still a mystery. It's still mystery. The truth is not out. It's still under lock and key. And it might it might come back in front of us again, like with more resolution. Hermit. She's acting like Robert is keeping stuff to himself. It's like no one else was there. I'm the only one that really knows. And I told you the story, and that's the way it is. But he's all alone in that. It's like his version that keeps him going. Those cards look a little weird. Okay, so I just pulled a couple more because you know me, I can't stop. Chariot. And in this, there's the woman getting into the chariot. Now that kind of talks about being there on the back of that boat and maybe near that little that little dinghy thing. You know, as if maybe she was out there with it, messing with it. But there's something still, I keep getting the moon over and over. There's something hidden about how she ended up in the water. Was she trying to get away or go, and he pushed her when she was messing around with that little dinghy? You know, it was dark. It was like midnight. There was a big party going on in another boat. Some person reported they heard somebody saying, "Help me, I'm drowning." But I don't know. There was also this thought there's this wild drunken party on a boat on the other side of them, and they were like yelling stupid stuff. So, you know, that was never clear if that was really what happened. You know, there were, why didn't more people then hear it or something? But she keeps talking about she didn't go in the water the way it's told. There's something different. You know, she's sad that it came to this. You know, it was, I don't know, it was unexpected. It's a sad loss. She's sad about the situation. She would like, look at her looking back behind her. She would like this thing about the spilling in the water to be brought to the present. Look, it's in the past. There's still something with the water, the cups, the water being spilled in the water that we haven't been told yet. Then she gives me the King of Pentacles bringing the Queen of Pentacles down. This is when I started talking about a power couple, because they're both pretty Hollywood royalty. But she's upside down and he's right side up. Like he was victorious. But I feel like she's the reason, and he was the reason she ended up upside down in the water, floating. I asked one more thing, I was just thinking in my mind about that ship captain and how her energy, what she thought about him. She says it was a horrible experience. It was like, not only was a huge tower moment in her life, but it was also one in his life. It was a biggie. He liked her a lot and everything. They were friends. she says he was always like a knight in cups for her. Like she liked him, they were friends, he cared for her, he sincerely, well, he liked both of them. They both liked him, you know. But she's saying his intentions are good. And even this new movement, when he came forward like a knight on a white horse, it was with good intention. Yeah, not only cups, but look, this knight has those little goldfish that live in Catalina. If you go there, there's these wild, bright goldfish that swim in the water. He has them all over his coat. Lots of water. Like, there's still information from the grave. She's still kind of speaking from the grave about this. And he's, you know, I wouldn't even be surprised if she inspired him, the ship captain, I mean, to come forward. And she just wants to say again that there she is, sitting on the side of the water, in a nightgown even. But there was this big fight between two men. There was this conflict between these men. She was kind of kept in the dark about some of it. It got like crazy, like way out there. This conflict was the reason she ended up in the water. That's what I think. Maybe that's why Christopher Walken never says a word about it. I don't think he's ever said anything about it. Anyway, well, that was interesting. Did we get any conclusions? What do you think? I think there's still shady shenanigans that went on that haven't come out. I also think that ship captain, even though I'm sure he made some money off that book, and so you can think whatever you want about that, but I still think it was his attempt to set the record straight, and also to try to not feel guilty about it. And I feel like she didn't just accidentally end up in the water. It seems like there was help, a helper. She might have been like, you know, under the influence, and maybe she was out there in her coat saying, I got to fix this boat, or maybe she was saying, I'm leaving again, you know, I'm going back like she did the night before, I'm getting out of here. And maybe the fact that she was drinking made her feel brave enough to, I can get in the boat and go and drive it. Because I don't think she was thinking about getting in the water. And maybe he stopped her or tried to stop her or said, no, you're not, or something. And there she went. I don't know. That's my imagination talking. But I can certainly see something like that happening. Because there's kind of that thing, well, if she's in her bedroom, you know, how did she end up out there by herself? I don't think she did end up out there by herself. I think they were both out there on the back little dock thing, arguing still. You know, and he had part of his excuse, oh, well, she was probably just going back to the beach. That's probably why he said that. It's because she had said she was going back. And he was like, no, you're not. Anyway, conspiracy theory. Well, that's what we got from that. Hope you liked it. It was very interesting. You will notice that in all those all those cards and all those decks, there wasn't like any, everything's fine. It was just an accident, I crossed over, and there's no leftover, nothing. No, wasn't anything like that. Because I would have gone in that direction. All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that. I had pretty much fun. I like to look at stuff like that. I'll do some more political readings too. I'm about to do one of those. But also now I want to look into Lyle and Eric Menendez. Let's watch that thing. That's another thing I lived through and watched when it was happening. And I always believed the boys right from the beginning because I watched them and I couldn't imagine what they were saying was made up. I always felt they got the shaft. Now, they killed their parents, but I think there was mitigating circumstances. Anyway, we might pull some cards on that because I'm interested again because I just watched that Ryan Murphy thing. Okay, guys, I love you guys so much. I'm going to go out and see if my kitty cat's still in her tarp tent. Uh-oh, I hear somebody coming in. Might be her. She might be tired of tenting it. She's a LARPer. Okay. I love you guys so much, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye-bye.